guess we'll start here. Let's go over here. Let's grab this amp. So this is RO number 4. We did RO number 1. And RO number 2 and RO number 3 are complete rebuilds. And they're going to take separate videos with whole separate new cabinets and stuff. So we're going to have to circle back to those. But this is RO number 4. Right here. This is a straight 4-pill with sideband bias. It's a little bit older box. It's been running for a long time. Now what's going on with this is it's got 2 pop transistors in it. 2 of the Toshibas have gone on to go be in heaven. And we're gonna pull them out of here, and we're gonna put new transistors in their place. And then we're gonna take them off, and we're gonna bury them out in a field, way up by the lake and the river. Big scenic overview. We're just gonna pass them on, just like we did Old Yeller. And you know, on some of these older boxes that I built, I was building with the parts that I knew that were available at the time, and not a big, you know, fan of this here anymore. So we're going to replace this with a metal clad. These have a tendency to get hot and break down and fail. We've proven it over and over and over again. So we're going to replace the combiner resistor with a new one. We got to go in and we got to remove this pill and this transistor here on the outside. Blown, like fried, like fried. Look at that. So a couple new 10 ohmers, a couple new resistors, and we'll get this thing back up and running. The other thing we're going to do, we're going to get rid of this. These are cool. I built with these in the very beginning. Everybody wanted to have the cutesy little lit fan and whatnot, and these don't work. These fans they don't move enough air. So it leaves the amp a little bit open to a little bit of thermal overload. The amplifier after this, we're going to change a bunch of the stuff that's in it, because since we've gone forwards, it's 6, 7 years, 8 years since I built it. There's stuff in there I'd never do today. So we're going to update it. But for the most part, this thing is good to go. Auto sideband. All right, can't wait to take a look at that. All right, let's move on. Let's get this done. So we changed out our output capacitor, and I went ahead and I changed the on-off switch a little bit. Changed a couple other things, put 2 new transistors in this thing that are matched up with the other transistors that are in here. So now, this magical thing happens. It works. Let's go ahead and lock this down. Okay, we'll lock this down. Brand new fan that actually moves air. I know it doesn't light up fugly blue, but it actually turns in an RPM rate sufficient enough to cool the amplifier. So up is on. It's a 3-position switch in the front. Up is on, in the middle is off, and down is sideband delay. So we're going to run it in the on position. The whole automatic BS sideband thing, it never works. Never ever works. So let's go over here real quick. Take a pause for the cause on the amp there. We're going to use the Bench Striker 955. Hello. Oh, shoot. I got to turn on the peak kit. Hello. 1, 2. And now we're going to hit it with 125 watts. Hello. 1, 2. Hello. 1, 2. Hello. 1, 2. You can really hear the voltage sagging in the fan. It's kind of like this 3.5 mile wire here It's acting like a giant resistor. Imagine that. But it's enough, it's working. Around 950 out of it, no problem at all day. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2. Let's go over here, let's take a look. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2. That's about what it should be doing. Let's go to sideband. Let's go ahead and we'll flip the switch down to sideband. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2. I get this probably 2 or 3 times a week. But BBI, you showed on video that it was only pulling 50 amps. Why won't my 50 amp Astron run it on sideband? Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2. There's a huge amount of amp current draw difference between sideband and AM. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2. It's working perfect. Input swirls are good, pass-through swirls are good. This thing's ready to go back home. It is repaired. So now, let's go look at this other thing that I've got. We'll call this RO number 4. So, RO number 4, as far as everybody in the universe is concerned, myself included, and I'm the one that gets to say what is what and when is when, is done. Done and more done and more done. So, back that out a little bit. And we'll discharge our caps, just like so. And I'll put the screws in this in a minute. Okay, well, this amp that I'm going to show you next, I would never have built it this way today. Let's get on with this. I'm ready to be done with these 2 boxes. But it's going to take time. Somebody has been in here and they put a Corsair fan in it. Maybe I did this. I don't know. I built with these for a hot minute. Expensive. They work. This is not a 2 driving 4. This is a straight 6. I'd never build like this today. Never. The main problem that I've got going on here is that when we plug it in, we have 3.5 volts that come from these 3 supplies. There are not enough supplies inside this thing to run this amplifier. So, what we're going to do is we're going to utilize some of these ultra thin high capacity supplies that we've come across, and we're going to insert them in this hole. And from there, we're going to change out a couple things, like these capacitors. Once we get the power supply running, these black caps, these guys here, they don't last. They just don't last. Contrary to other people's belief, they'll work for a little while. You get them hot, they don't hold water. They don't. Now, according to my friend that owns this amp was never keyed up. And I said, well, then how are the power supplies burned out? This is 60. There's 90 amp of supply here between these 3 supplies. So 30, 60, 90. Not enough. Not enough. And I thought when I was building this back in the day that this was enough. Guess what? I've told all my friends, everybody that'll listen, even the students that show up to learn something, if you mess up on camera, embrace it, wrap your arms around it, give it a kiss on the neck and say you did it. Each one of these, right here, we've tested on video to be able to hold 40 amps. So 4080, 160. Scooch more power than the 90 that's in here. So I'll probably put 2 here. I'll put 2 here and 1 here. That makes sense? We're going to make it so that the switches are facing up. So if my customer in the end ever wants to switch and go from 110 and run this on 220 the way it should or could be run, all he's got to do is change the plug, flip the switches, and he'll be on 220. So let's pull these busted ass bullshits out of here, and maybe we can see what's wrong with them. We'll pull 1 or 2 of them apart and we'll take a look on the inside. But let's get the old and busted out, and let's start getting ourselves ready to put the new and kick ass back in there. Well, let's take a look for here. What do we find on power supply number 1? The MOV is blown out of it completely, as we can see here. It's in a great state of not effing working no more, which means this rectifier's probably popped, but whatever. Junk. This one here, the carnage is a little bit better on it. Post transformer isolation choke, blah blah blah. Trace failure from too much current load. Board burnt completely through. You can see here it's burned right through. So, but the MOV is still good, and so is the fuse holder. Junk. This one here, I took it apart, and it's got this white powder all over it, which tells me that one of the filter caps has bled out its guts. I didn't bother ripping this one apart since one of the primary high voltage filters literally just fell out because it's burned off the board. This amplifier was keyed down and running when all these power supplies went away. And to my friend that owns these, I'd really appreciate it if you don't say to me ever again, well, how could that ever happen? Because that amplifier was never keyed up. Bullshit. Bullshit. This guy hooked it up and tried to get as much juice out of it as he possibly could and overloaded the power supplies and killed it. So, there might have not been enough power supplies in there, but the whole point of taking these apart was that the person that owns this amplifier, I must have heard 15 times in one conversation, mind you, about how this amp was never keyed up. Oh, it's impossible. Those power supplies are burned up. So it's impossible. The amplifier was never keyed up. I don't understand how they could be burned up. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It was never keyed up. The guy never hooked it up. It was never even connected, never even turned on. Okay, well, the parts say different. That's all I'm gonna say. Evidence says something different, and I'm gonna move on. We're gonna put a little bit higher dollar supplies in it, and we're gonna give it a little bit more amperage to work with, and I think it's gonna be just fine. So, moving on. All right, so all new power supplies are in, everything's mounted. All the appropriate wires are going to all the appropriate places. Contact. All right, let's go over here. Turn on the peak kit. Turn the amp off. So we're going to start out low drive, 2950. Hit 1, 2. Turn the amp on. Oh yeah, we're dragging. Dragging. It's not putting out the power it should. But oh yeah. This port here. Something here. Now I would bet money if I'm a money betting kind of guy, which I'm not, it's going to either be this cap or this cap has gone bad. I'm going to replace these with metal clads anyhow. That was the idea from the word go. Let's go grab some 1000 metal clads. Okay, like I said in the last segment, we've got, you know what, hold on. This feels very disorganized to me. Let me fix this here real quick. All right, all I had to do was unsolder every wire and hook them back up. It has zero to do with functionality. It's all about looks. Okay, I'm comfortable with that. All right, so where we left off is that I had this hypothesis that these caps here had devaluated, which is kind of a no-brainer. This one has 628 puff or picofarad. I should have 1000. This is where we get, oh wow, he was right. Check this out, 17.9 out of 1000. So it's obviously bad. And our last one, $23.1. Needless to say, all three of these caps are junk. Okay, so what we did is I went in and I replaced them with 1000 puff metal clads, the way they should have been in the first place. I don't know. This might have been when we couldn't get the 1000 puffs. I don't know. We're just going to revisit this. A lot of this is going to be covered under warranty repair, like a majority of it. So I don't know. I found a lot of other stuff that was wrong in here that I've gone back and I've had to take another look at. So needless to say, we're back over here. Let's make sure that we're on the 1x scale. We are. All right, so let's turn on our amplifier. And hold on, we're getting ahead of ourselves. So here, let me show you drive. 1, 2. Nothing's really changed. Now, if we can remember from the previous segment back, the same amount of drive was producing 400 watts, right? It's not lagging anymore. So that's with the 2950 hitting it. Let's go ahead, let's change. And let's go to the derail striker, which we all know does about 125 watts, right? And with about 125 watts of drive, we're going to do probably 1300 watts output power, right? Oh, shoot. Go back to AM here. There we go. Audio. It's showing about 130, 140 watts, but we all know that when we change the slug and we go down to a little bit tighter accuracy, it's 125 watts. So while we're here, let's go over here and let's take a look at this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. That's our pass-through tune. So the RF is encountering little to no resistance going through the amplifier. Let's turn the amp back on. In a corner. In the corner. Let's go over here. Let's put our input tune. Okay. Good input tune. Making all kinds of peak power. Let's go over here and let's go to 2x since that's where we're going to play. So all the way over here in the corner is 2000 watts. Right there is 1000 watts. That's 12, 14, 16, 18, 2 grand. Okay. Let's see here. 1, 2, 1, 2. Just a hair under 16. It's like 15 and some change. 1, 2, 1, 2. At least from my perspective. Let's look at our voltage. 1, 2, 1, 2. All right. So that's with 125 watts of drive. Let's hook up the 490, and I'd have to say that the theoretical max on this is about 200 watts. Let's go back over here again. Shut striker off, shut 2950 off. We'll go over here to the 490. Right at about the 200 watt mark. Remember, we're in 2X. Oh, okay. Well, we just sent it into crowbar because we hit it too hard. So let's go and show what happens when we go into crowbar. Crowbar is the power supply saying we've been overloaded, or it detects a short. So how we reset the crowbar is we flip the amp off and we wait, and we look at the LED here on the front. One, 2, 3, 4. Wait for the pulses. That's all the power supply is resetting. Wait for the light to go all the way out, and then we can go back up. So now that we reset from crowbar, we had our dead key too low or something. Crowbar again. Maybe 125 watts is the max that it wants to have. So let's wait. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Crowbar is now reset. So now we're seeing 16 and some change. Not bad. 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. Not too bad. So, end of the day, this thing's working. It's got all the bugs worked out of it. We went and gave it the once over. We looked at the input tune, we did the pass-through tune, we made sure we had all the right parts in all the right places. So, let's put the cabinet on it, and let's play with it some more. So, my microphone on the front of my striker is starting to go away. About once a year I have to take all this mess down, pull this meter out, pull that radio out, pull this radio down. And what ends up happening is there's a plug on the back of the mic jack where it starts making intermittent contact. I pull that off, just now started doing it, so let's see if we can get through this video and make it last and work long enough for the video. Hello, 1, 2. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2. 5, 600 bird, no problem. 2 watt dead key minimum. 2 watt dead key minimum. Called and discussed it with the customer. He's like, yep, okay. I mean, maybe these power supplies aren't the end all bee's knees. I got one more over here. I got to pull it apart and we're going to figure out what we got to do to get that crowbar. I'd rather have crowbar protection than bypass it. Just saying, if it gets overloaded, it protects the supplies. But right now, well, shit. I have spent almost an entire day fiddly farting around with these supplies, these switchers that are in here. And every time I go to sideband mode, they trip. And if I don't have the dead key just right, they trip out. So I can't send this on to the customer like this. So the amp's 100% repaired except for the freaking power supply. So therefore nothing's repaired. That makes sense? I got no other modules in the shop at the moment that I can drop into this. So we're going to have to come back to this. But this is done. This is 100% done. This is going to go on out the door. But we're going to cut the video off here. I'm going to go on and go work on some other projects that have been desperately waiting for my time. I'm going to get some different modules coming in the mail here in the next day or so. And we'll come back to this in about a week, maybe 2. We'll see if we can get this going. So, just having a hard time finding good switch modules right now. Really are. I mean, honest to engine, we're having a tough go of it right now. But we'll figure it out. So, on that note, I want to say a big shout out to Siglant, XS, MechMan, Bird, Coaxial Dynamics, our friends over at Penta Laboratories. We'll be back. We're going to get this one finished, just not today, because I don't have the parts sitting on the shelf that I can slap in this and make it work. So, we'll be back. Gentlemen, on that note, I appreciate every single one of you tuning in and following along. I'm off to go do some other stuff, and you guys are going to follow along on the video adventure. I'll see you. Click, click.